Down to business.
When he drinks, he thinks.
That's the nectar of the gods, baby.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Oh, goodness, I forgot the hang on. Let me get the closed captioning going. All right. Here we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the #1 liquid-fueled, liquid lubricated show on the interwebs. This is the Whiskey Musings Broadcast, and I am your host, Rick. I am basically kind of surprised that there's a few articles and things that happened today, but everybody is so focused on Trump, so focused on the Trump deal that they've kind of slipped under the cracks, and they are extremely important. I'm going to cover a lot of them tonight. I'm going to try and cover, I think, 5 of those tonight. And then also, I have a fantastic set of pets coming from Rumble's own Z for tonight's pet of the week. Hopefully Z will show up. I have not seen Z yet in the chat, but I'm hoping that she will show up because she submitted her entire menagerie of furry critters for tonight's pet of the week, and I'm excited to share them with you. Also, tonight I am drinking for well, I don't know. This is kind of the first time for this one, even though it is in the Four Roses clan. This is the first time I've had this particular version. So this is just the straight up Four Roses bourbon. It's not the single barrel or the I can't remember the other one. Single barrel and shoot, I can't remember the other one. But anyway, this is the standard one that you buy for the most part. So what we are this is what I'm drinking. I just popped the cork. I took the plastic off before the show started, but I just popped the cork. So here we go. We're going to go ahead and pour this in the glass. And of course, I always, well, I won't say always, but most of the time drink my whiskey on the whiskey stones, not necessarily the rocks, but the whiskey stones. And so here we go with the whiskey stones in there. And it has the same, is very similar notes to everything. Oh yeah. Yep. Okay. I can drink this one too. So far, out of the ones that I've been giving, I've got 3 bottles, 3 separate different versions of Four Roses that I can actually drink and enjoy. I absolutely cannot miss this. Thank you, Based Interactive. Yep, there we go. Based Interactive, thank you very much for your Rumble rant. I do appreciate that. Let me read it real quick here. Smash that thumbs up and follow if you haven't already. Yes, please. Please do so. That is absolutely fabulous, wonderful advice. I do appreciate that. All right, I see Z in the chat. Z, you're going to have to hang out because it's tonight's for your critters. Anyway, that's later on in the show. All right, so we obviously have to announce that tonight is Whiskey Wednesday. It's like Taco Tuesday, but for badasses. That's right. All of you badasses, Whiskey Warrior P1s, I do appreciate every single one of you. And of course, it's Whiskey Wednesday. And let me go ahead and get to tonight's, I call them a sponsor, more of an affiliate or whatever. But here we go. Let's talk about, it doesn't come through. I got to remember to change that. Okay. True Grit Roots Network. True Grit Roots Network, TGRN, champions independent artists while paying respect to the pioneers who shaped modern roots music featuring outlaw country, blues, and rock with a unique twist of urban that is carefully selected and purposely put together. We are the radio highway that connects the back roads, highways, and city streets to your favorite dance hall, roadhouse, and juke joint. TGRN provides exclusive original programming and interviews that are produced and hosted by our own team of DJs, hosts, and personalities. Find us on the web at tgrn.net to download our app in the App Store and from Google Play. Alternatively, you can find us in the Live 365 catalog of digital radio stations and through the Live 365 app as well. You can also play our station on your Amazon Alexa by saying play True Grit Roots Network from Live 365. Be sure to use the word from in the command play True Grit Roots Network from Live 365. Live 365 is also on Roku, so you can play it through your television while you're in the kitchen or wherever for the party and so on and so forth. Breaking boundaries for Authentic Roots Radio, True Grit Roots Network, TGRN.net, Austin, Texas. And of course, I have to announce that I am a part owner in that. Oh, wait. I am part owner in this venture with a friend of mine. We are technically we are in our soft launch, but realistically, we've been doing the internet digital radio thing for about 2 years now. So, all right. So there we go. There's that. And also just to let everybody know, if you haven't noticed, down here in this corner where I'm pointing are all my social media accounts. They come in and move out every so often. And so you can go ahead and follow me on social media. That is fantastic for that. All right. So obviously the biggest story of the week was the fact that Trump was arraigned and technically arrested. They didn't get, as far as like the media is concerned, they didn't get a lot of like play off of it in terms of, the mugshot, the grabbing of, the arrest with the handcuffs and things like that. They didn't get a lot of those kinds of things. But what they did get, of course, was the whole idea that Trump is basically being accused of up to 34 violations of some law in New York that has to deal with keeping proper records, business records, and falsifying them. I downloaded the indictment, the arraignment. I downloaded the papers. Haven't walked through the entire thing. However, every single item that's on there has to deal with falsifying business records. And one thing that you'll note is the mainstream media is going absolutely bazonkers over the fact that he is falsifying business records and, according to them, conspiracy. Now, the thing about it is there isn't really conspiracy written down in that document. There isn't one that I noticed. There isn't one. And even if there was, there isn't really a law that he would be breaking, with that. So, again, here we are, a very thin, if any, case against Donald Trump. But of course, it went ahead and monopolized the entire media cycle, for the time, for the entire time being. Now, supposedly I've heard that the next scheduled time for Trump to get actually in court is going to be in December, which is kind of interesting. They are going to have to go through like all of those motions and things like that. I'm sure there will probably be a motion to dismiss. There will also be a motion for change of venue, and things of that nature. So obviously the mainstream media is going to be watching over that and watching very carefully about those, kinds of things. But again, I'm not too confident that it's going to go anywhere. And honestly, a lot of the left-wing pundits on like CNN and all of those, they are also not so confident about it either, which tells you how, how incredibly stupid, I guess, this is over that. So anyway, but what did get covered up? What did get covered up was 5 individual stories and pieces of information that I think that you need to know. And so this is basically what we're going to cover tonight. So the first thing is, I don't know if you recall, but there's a hearing. Obviously, there's a bunch of hearings because now that the Republicans are back in charge, they are, taking the whole committee thing and putting serious committees together. One of them being a hearing on the weaponization of the federal government. And one of the things that has occurred here back on March 30th, they had some very significant witnesses. Let me go ahead and bring this up here. So they had, I forgot that. I knew there was something I forgot. Anyway, they had some significant witnesses testify in the hearing on the weaponization of the federal government itself. And this is the Judiciary Committee. So the Judiciary Committee's website. And there's a video here. I haven't actually played it, but I imagine it has something to do with the hearing. It's probably, video about it, but they had 4 witnesses testify. 2 of them are parties in the case of Missouri versus Biden. Now, to refresh your memory, Missouri versus Biden is the U.S. District Court case. It has not gone to the Supreme Court yet. Obviously, it's got to work its way up that way, but it's currently in the district courts. And the U.S. District Court case, with regards to what was discovered, especially in like the Twitter files, where the federal government was violating individuals' free speech rights by telling Twitter and some of the other social media sites to go ahead and censor stories that were deemed misinformation. Now, we all know now that a lot of the misinformation that the government was trying to cover up is not actually misinformation. For an example, this particular case is focused on the whole COVID thing and the vaccines, their effectiveness, the response of the government to COVID, etc. However, in this particular case, they also added in things like the Twitter files, where it was censorship of the Hunter Biden laptop and so on and so forth. I highly recommend. Now, I've put links in the description for the video to not only go to this website, but also these 4 witness testimony sheets. I highly recommend you grab those and you read those testimonies if you have any interest in this case, which realistically, anybody who loves America, anybody that loves the First Amendment really has to see this and read this. But I want to highlight in particular U.S. Senator Eric Schmidt from Missouri, his testimony, because he is one of the initial parties in the case, along with the AG from Louisiana. But one of the things that I wanted to highlight in particular is it's down in the document. And I'm going to read it here in just a second. Let me get it a little bit bigger for you folks. So here are a couple things that popped out. So the first one is this top line talks about, because of Dr. Fauci's influence, social media platforms censored the lab leak theory and other COVID-19 viewpoints that Dr. Fauci and his cabal of experts disfavored. Okay. So that's specifically for the COVID link. But here's some more information. Missouri and Louisiana also deposed an FBI agent about the Hunter Biden laptop story. Now, if you recall, I'm going to digress from the text here for just a second. If you recall, I have mentioned multiple times on this platform that the Hunter Biden laptop was, in my opinion, the number one thing that caused Joe Biden to win the election, meaning the suppression of the Hunter Biden laptop, because the story was true and quite damning, honestly. But that particular thing was the biggest across the country situation. And again, I'm not discounting any of the issues with the states or whatever. But the whole point is that the Hunter Biden laptop across the entire United States was the reason why Trump ended up, in the position that he was in, because there are polls that have essentially shown multiple times that if voters had known about the Hunter Biden laptop story, that they would have swapped their vote. So in my case, that is the most direct election interference that was nationwide to change the election. Okay. Now, the other piece out of this, by the way, is that I am currently serving what is left of, and it's a little bit over a week, what is left of a 2-week suspension on YouTube because I stated that and they're still labeling that whole thing with the Hunter Biden laptop story and everything else. They're still labeling it election misinformation. Okay. So anyway, the point being, I've got to take a second. Thank you, M. Van Cleve. And of course you're thanking me, but whoops. Thank you, M. Van Cleve, for the Rumble rant. I do appreciate it. That is just absolutely awesome. You guys are making my heart sing tonight. I do appreciate it. And this is fantastic. And yes, Redford, I am holding back a little bit of laughter in terms of what's going on in the chat. I'm doing my best to keep an eye on stuff. But anyway, you have to get over to Rumble. You have to get into the chat in order to understand what I'm talking about. I am not going to put that out on the video. That's going to be your enticement. Go over to Rumble, sign up, follow, and jump in the chat, man. Let's just do that. All right. Now, let me continue on this. This deposition and relevant documents revealed that the FBI deliberately planted false information about the hack and leak operations in advance of the Hunter Biden laptop story in order to deceive social media platforms into censoring the Hunter Biden laptop story. The FBI also flagged social media accounts for censorship on a monthly basis and have an estimated 50% success rate in getting reported disinformation removed or censored. The Missouri v. Biden lawsuit also obtained documents revealing that multiple federal agencies, including, and listen to this, the FBI, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Census Bureau, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency in the Department of Homeland Security, and the Global Engagement Center in the State Department have pressured and colluded with social media companies to flag and censor large numbers of accounts and posts, especially relating to public health and elections. The federal government has even created public-private partnerships like the Election Integrity Partnership and the Virality Project to expand its censorship reach. Without the Missouri v. Biden lawsuit and the subsequent disclosures in the Twitter files, Americans would never know the Biden administration's coordination, collusion, and coercion to censor speech. The Biden administration's actions to censor speech it dislikes infringes on one of our country's most fundamental freedoms. In 1984, George Orwell imagined a world where the government completely controlled speech and thought through its Ministry of Truth. President Biden and his administration may lust for its own Ministry of Truth, but I, along with millions of Americans, will not stop fighting for the God-given right to speak your mind, freedom of expression, and freedom of speech. And that, my friends, is exactly why I will continue to push Rumble, because I know that YouTube and Facebook have on occasion taken actions against speaking of the truth. Rumble will never do that. Okay. As far as we know at this point, Rumble will not do that. So if you are over on any of those other platforms, you have got to, literally got to come back or come over to Rumble and sign up if you want to continue to watch and continue to see content like mine and other like-minded individuals for this particular scenario. Okay. So that, my friends, that is why I do what I do. That is why I'm transmitting on Rumble, and that's why I will continue to advocate for them here on the platform. All right. There are other things that were stated, and like I said, I have all of these other things here, but all of these other testimonies, written testimonies, you've got to go check them out and read them. Okay, you really, 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 really should. Okay, so let me go back here. All right, that is very important. That is moving along, and it is seriously, in my mind, probably one of the biggest cases outside of like Roe v. Wade or any of those other ones. You just want to be one of those big, huge cases. The last 10 years in the legal system has been, and especially the last 5, has been incredibly entertaining and informative and everything else. It is just amazing to me how much is coming out. And this is just amazing to me. And we've got to keep an eye on this. All right. So the next thing that got covered up is the fact that the Chinese spy balloon, if you recall, when the Chinese spy balloon, went over, and it was not only ignored by the mainstream media and actually even the administration, because it was first spotted when it came over the Aleutian Islands up in Alaska. And it was also being tracked as it crossed over Canada and into Montana. All right. Well, and also the other thing is Joe Biden went on screen, went on the television and said, hey, don't worry about it. It's not a problem. We can't shoot it down because it was over certain areas. And by the way, we're blocking anything. It can't send any information back. All it is like a rogue weather balloon at first, and then it was a rogue civilian operated craft, and that went through too. It was just a lie after lie after lie, which of course that's what the Biden administration does, is they lie. Well, they also lied about the Chinese spy balloon. I don't know why anybody can actually believe this guy. I really I mean, every time he opens his mouth, his lips move. It's just lie after lie after lie. But apparently the Chinese spy balloon was still sending data, even though we supposedly blocked it. Okay. I've got 2 articles about this in the show notes. We have Red State as well as NBC in this, but let's look at the Red State article first. So in the Red State article, they kind of mention how they reported that intelligence officials have actually said that the spy balloon did actually collect from several military sites, despite what the Biden team told them. And these are 2 current and 1 former U.S. administration official told NBC News, which is the other article, that the Chinese were able to collect information from some key locations. They even said that the balloon was able to make multiple passes over some of the sites, at times flying figure 8 formations. Now, I don't know about you, but most of the time weather balloons are just, basically just floating, and they're just gathering data as they float throughout the course of their path. But this thing was apparently steerable. It was steerable, folks. They were able to put it into a figure 8 configuration, which means that either it had a computer on board that was doing a pre-planned based on geosynchronous type data. I can't think of the word now, but anyway, based off of its location data, and it was able to do the figure 8s over the particular sites, and or it was being remotely controlled by somebody to actually go over those facilities. And so once again, the Biden administration, claimed that they blocked the Chinese from testing it, but it actually didn't happen that way. And so, yeah, and not only that, but I guess the Twitterverse, which is the cesspool of leftist stupidity, to be honest with you, the Twitterverse went alive with this whole thing about having them blocking the transmissions and so on and so forth, and that everything is okay, folks. Nothing to see here. Reminds me of that, Naked Gun meme that I keep seeing running around. There's nothing to see here while the entire building is like on fire, crashing and burning, etc. So anyway, the point being here is that obviously, once again, the Biden administration has been lying to us, and there's really not much difference between the NBC News article, but I mean, essentially, it does say that 3 officials said China could have gathered much more intelligence from the sensitive sites if not for the administration's effort to move around potential targets and obscure the balloon's ability to pick up their electronic signals by stopping them from broadcasting or emitting signals. Ladies and gentlemen, I work in my regular job. I work in a signals industry. There is nothing outside of not transmitting that can stop somebody from picking up a signal within the air. There's nothing. Once it's sent up into the air, there is no turning back. There's no turning it off. Unless you're like severely directing it. And even then, it's even, you can still pick stuff up, just from residual reflections, refractions, etc. I could go into a whole diatribe on this, but the fact of the matter is that these guys, they kept saying they wanted the stupid people in America to basically say, hey, don't worry about it. It's okay. It's not a problem. It's okay. We're fine. And yeah, they lied. It's a big surprise. Damn thing was a surveillance balloon. Absolutely. And, yes, everybody knows it. And this guy just continues to lie. I just can't, I can't deal with people. I mean, yeah, like I said, I can't imagine that this basement dummy ended up in the White House. It just goes to show how the intelligence of America is kind of falling down. All right. So I also have another article that you need to, and it's kind of on the, it's kind of on the same vein as the Chinese spy balloon, but this is even more concerning, especially considering the fact that China has been ramping up for multiple years, attempting to potentially go to war. They are focused on Taiwan. They have been focused on Taiwan. I have an entire episode, a couple of episodes where I kind of discuss why Taiwan is so important. But the main reason is because of the absolute fantastic computer chips that Taiwan makes, and the fact that 90% of all of our electronic devices have some technology from Taiwan in them. Okay, that covers everything. I don't care whether it's from Japan, China, Vietnam, any of those other places. Taiwan has some sort of technology, some sort of chip in every single one, bar the 10% out there. They have something in there. Well, I saw this article pop in the Daily Caller, and this kind of freaks me out. I'm just going to tell you and be honest with you. Apparently, border authorities are warning of a greater surge in Chinese illegally crossing into the U.S. And they're revealing smuggling routes. Now, keep in mind, up until the point that Biden opened up the border, and let's be honest, we don't have a border anymore. They're just like, they've opened up the gates and said, hey, we're just going to go ahead and, let anybody in. All right. But here's the thing. We normally see countries from like Central and South America. We normally see, people coming in from Mexico. It's not often that we run across people coming from other countries that are outside of Central and South America. I mean, occasionally we'll see some from, say, Cuba or, Dominican Republic or something like that. You might see some of those folks, coming in and they catch them, but they're not the predominance. Now, the thing about it is, though, is that this is concerning. And the reason I say that is because Border Patrol agents, according to a report put out by the Border Patrol agents have encountered more than 4,200 illegal migrants from China between October 2022 and February 2023, compared to roughly 1,900 in all of fiscal year 2022. Now, this is hugely concerning, folks, hugely concerning about this because of the fact that this is literally, it's over doubling in half the amount of time. Oh, let's see, October, November, December, January, February. Yeah, roughly half the amount of time. We have double the number of interactions with Chinese. Now, according to this, they're talking about, Chinese nationals coming in and successfully reaching the United States to request asylum. Okay, so here's the thing. If the Chinese, these young Chinese, and by the way, if you take a look at the report that was put out, they have a graph that you can kind of manipulate if you want to. But the thing about it is that these folks that are coming across, they are predominantly single individuals. They're not families. They're not, extended family members or anything else. These are young, single individuals that are coming across, for the most part, across the border, okay, based on this report. Not saying that those are that's just the Chinese. I'm talking in general for everything coming in, okay? But here's the thing. If all of these are young individuals coming in, why are we seeing such an influx of these people? And the question has to be asked, and Jarhead just asked it, Jarhead over on Rumble just asked, are these military-age males that are coming in? Because if they are we looking at literally a soft invasion prior to China attacking Taiwan and hoping essentially that we don't get involved, that Biden backs down, being the wimp that he is, the foreign policy idiot that he is, and backs down and doesn't do anything? Or could this be even more ominous, where they are literally anticipating our involvement and they will already have personnel within our borders to essentially attack us even further from within, more so than just invading our universities and stealing all of our technological ideas and all of the other things that they've been doing. Folks, China is our greatest enemy on the outside. China is our greatest threat from a foreign entity. It's not Russia anymore. Okay. It's not Russia anymore. Okay. So this is deeply concerning, and we really and truly need to pay attention to this, especially given the global dynamics that are going on right now. And speaking of that particular edge of the theater, I did catch a headline from the Washington Examiner that apparently we have some people over in Korea right now. And these are, I don't know if they're representatives. I can't remember if they're representatives or senators, whether they're from the House of Representatives or the Senate. But they're over there. And one of them basically said, hey, look, if China invades Taiwan, there is a high likelihood that North Korea will do something as well. And I've been saying it on this program. The 3 foreign theaters that we need to pay attention to is Eastern Europe, obviously the Middle East, because even that is starting to kick up. Okay. And over in the Eastern realm over by China. And realistically, I mean, right now, our joke of a president and our joke of an administration would have absolutely no idea what to do. And they essentially will probably have some serious problems trying to deal with these situations. All right, let me take a second. All right. That is some good stuff. I got to tell you, I got to give a shout out to B. Patrick and Fat Boss over on Rumble for putting me on Four Roses. I wasn't really a bourbon fan for a while, but you guys have convinced me. Four Roses is on my top of the list when it comes to bourbon. I still like my Irish whiskey. I still like my Jameson Black Barrel. But that is definitely the scenario for drinking. I do prefer this Four Roses. Absolutely. All right. So let me go ahead and we're going to go ahead and get on to the pet of the week.
Please check your mailbox. A new message has arrived.
All right. And tonight's pet of the week is submitted by Z. And everybody over on Rumble, or at least most people over on Rumble, know Z over there. But she literally sent me a book, folks. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit for me to go ahead and bring this up. Let me get over there. I'm not, please don't take this the wrong way. I am not saying that you shouldn't do this. I'm just saying this is like one of the bigger ones for tonight. But tonight's pet of the week, we have, that's next after this. We have, first off, so let me go ahead and read this. Hello, Whiskey. This is Z, Bam's daughter. Pictures are of D and I's fur babies. 4 of them were originally mine before I met D. One is his before he met me. And now we are one big happy family. My 4 babies are named after Greek and Norse mythology, as I am 29% Norwegian. Me and D have 3 cats and 2 rats, and they are the best. Well, let's start with Thor. He is the biggest and oldest cat of the 3. Now, I'm not really too sure which one of these 2 is Thor. Z, you may want to put that in the chat so I can let people know who is who. But Thor is the biggest and oldest cat of the 3, and he is definitely king of the house. I got him when I was 13, and now I am 20. He will be 8 this year. He is spoiled by my grandma, who says she doesn't like animals, but the way she treats him says otherwise. Even though he can be a little brat at times, he is the most loving cat ever and has gotten me through through my lowest points in life. So, okay, so first, so Bam is saying the one on the bottom. So the one sitting on the bottom in the picture. So, right. I can't do it, but right there on the bottom. Okay. This is Thor. And just so you know, Z, animals have been proven scientifically to help people's health. Things like lower blood pressure, lower stress, things like that. And even cats, who are generally tend to be standoffish, are basically, they even help. I mean, we have a couple cats here, and they are, they are just absolutely wonderful. They do a lot for us. And, but anyway, let me go on. So Thor is Z's baby. Then we have Persephone. Persephone in this photo is the one at the top. She will be 3 in April and is the weirdest cat I've had. I can almost guarantee you I've had one weirder. We'd have to have a discussion about that. But anyway, I digress. She has lots of attitude, but what cat doesn't? That's true. All cats believe that they are the kings of the household. And, you know, the old adage is true. Dogs have owners, cats have staff. Okay. She is my most special baby and needs extra care sometimes when she does have seizures once in a while. It's nothing serious, but she is a trooper and doesn't let that stop her loving personality. Okay. So here is another photo of both Thor, and you can really see Thor's fluffiness here in this photo, and Persephone. Thor and Persephone. Okay, now we're going to move on to, next we have Nico. So this is Nico, the other cat. Nico, which is also cat in Japanese. I'm going to take your word on that. This is Dee's cat, and she just turned 2. She is just a ball of love and cuddles. She's a bit chunky, but that means there is more to love. She is very laid back and follows Dee everywhere, including the bathroom. And her favorite place to sit is in the bathtub. And of course, Z provided us a picture to prove that. Okay. Right after she is done drinking out of the toilet. Yes, she does have a water bowl, but my grandma even sometimes puts ice cubes in. I guess toilet water just tastes better. Hopefully it's not the blue toilet water that you get when you put in one of those blue things. Oh, it's Necco. Sorry. Necco, not Nico. I threw a different spin on it. My apologies. Necco. All right. So anyway, Necco, let's see. Where are we at? Toilet water just tastes better. There we go. All right. Last but not least are my 2 rat boys. Now, I'm not sure. I think I put another picture in here. Nope. There we go. Okay. So last but not least are my 2 rat boys, Loki and Hades. All right. Z, once again, I don't know which one is which. So you're going to have to help me here. Which one is this one in the chat? Let me know. So let me continue with the 2 rats. Rats get a bad rap, but they are the sweetest boys ever and love giving kisses. They are fat fur balls who sleep all day. I don't always let them out of their cage because they get too curious for their own good, but they live a very good and spoiled life. Okay, so Bam is saying Loki is the white one. So let's see which one is more white. Oh, okay. I get it. So they both have underside bellies, but it looks like this is Loki and this is Hades. And I'm guessing that this is also Hades, versus Loki. But anyway, all right. So, Z also says, anyway, that is all. No, enjoy these pictures. No, Z, that's not all, because you also included a photo of you and D with, let me find Necco right there. So, all right, everybody, here's Z and D with Necco hanging out together. And all the 3 of you look a little, look really happy. Anyway, thank you very, very much, Z, for submitting all of those photos and the wonderful story for Pet of the Week. If you would like to get your pet featured on the Pet of the Week segment that happens on Wednesdays, do me a favor, send me an email with the photo or photos of the animal, names, ages, breeds, whatever you want to say about them, even like a cute little story, if you have them, to fans, FANS, that's Foxtrot Alpha November Sierra, at whiskeymusings.online. That's fans at whiskeymusings.online. You can send me the photos and I will get them on in order. I usually get them in the order received for Pet of the Week. And then you can also, just as a reminder, you can also send me questions for whiskey for the Saturday night segment. Questions for whiskey to the same email address, fans at whiskeymusings.online. All right. So let's get back to the show. All right. I don't know if anybody noticed this, honestly, because again, the mainstream media sort of glossed over this. But there's a couple things that popped here, and they directly speak to Joe Biden's lack of a proper economic policy. Now, if you recall, Joe Biden went over to Saudi Arabia to basically beg OPEC to up production, and they literally told them we can't do any more. Well, they've taken a shot at him once again. And what they've done is they have actually, according to Yahoo News here, and I've actually seen this on a couple of different places, but apparently OPEC decides to cut production. Now, of course, this Yahoo Finance is a left-wing leaning organization. And so anyway, they essentially have, and so they're trying to spin it and make it, this could be a gift to Biden, which, by the way, if anybody has noticed, his approval rating is in the tank. It's even worse than what he has been here recently. I mean, he's always been running in the mid 40s. But let's be honest, he's actually dropped down even further into the high 30s percent in terms of his approval rating. But Yahoo Finance thinks that this is going to help unite people from, essentially unite the left and the right, because, of course, there's not much that unites, and this is coming from the piece. There's not much that unites Democrats and Republicans in Washington, D.C., but a foreign attack on American energy prices might do it. Just with that one statement, hey, people in Washington, D.C., and I'm calling you people very, very carefully, if we'd have kept our domestic production going and not shut down the Keystone XL pipeline and not hampered putting in refineries and all these other things over the course of the last several years, probably wouldn't be in this situation, to be completely honest. But you dumbasses went ahead and did it. Oh, and not to mention our strategic petroleum reserve, which normally is reserved for wars, is, holy crap, pretty damn depleted right now. The lowest that it's ever been since it was first installed. I mean, freaking A, people, come on. I just cannot believe the incompetence that we have running. Okay, so back to the piece real quick here. The recent Saudi-led decision by the OPEC Plus oil cartel to cut production promptly pushed prices up above about $5 per barrel, up by about $5 per barrel to about $81 in the United States. Some forecasters see prices rising another 10 to 15%, which would quickly boost the cost of gasoline and other types of carbon energy. Oh, great. So gasoline prices are going to go up just in time for all of our summer trips. Gee, what a freaking coincidence. Anyway, and they're trying to like soften this by saying that the United States isn't nearly as captive to the Middle East as it used to be. And the oil move could trigger unification action in Washington that could ultimately work in President Biden's favor. No, it won't. Anybody with an intelligence factor above 5 is going to be able to see that this guy put us in this position. Now, Yahoo Finance is claiming that raise in prices and attack on energy might open a pathway to resolving the debt ceiling impasse, which could soon reach man-made crisis proportions. It also could create reforms meant to safeguard the carbon energy we're largely dependent upon today, as well as the green energy we'll need much more of in the future. Gag me, please. You guys, all right. I've had enough of this. You can't, I'm not going to. All right. So, yeah. So this is going to be very, very interesting to watch in terms of, the whole OPEC thing. But going along with that, though, has been a very, very silent, in terms of the mainstream media, silent attack on the U.S. dollar. Now, let me explain something to you. And hopefully you already know this, or at least I'm going to do it very, very broadly here. But since roughly about the 1920s or so, the world decided that they were going to center upon one monetary system for trade across the entire world. Because let's be honest, having to track, what are they called? Exchange rates for hundreds and hundreds of different types of currencies across the world, and trying to, track that on a regular daily basis for world trade was really difficult. And so once the world kind of started moving away from precious metals as its basis for, monetary exchanges, it basically went ahead and said, look, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start using the U.S. dollar. The U.S. dollar was, for a long period in history, and especially up until and during the World War II in, 1944, for an example, international trade decided that the U.S. dollar was going to be utilized as the basis for all of the world trade. And that was put together by the Bretton Woods Agreement. Okay. In 1971, of course, President Nixon went ahead and cut the direct convertibility of the U.S. dollars into gold. He stopped that. So in other words, he moved us away from the gold standard. And then European and Japanese exports in the 1960s became more competitive with U.S. exports. So anyway, so it started to the large supply of the dollar, of the actual physical dollar, is making it difficult to go back to the gold standard. Now, the U.S. dollar, if you ever look, has generally run with about $1 compared to, only picking up about 80 cents of its value. Okay. And inflation, of course, is not making this any different, any more different than what's going on. So the thing about it is, though, is that because the U.S. dollar is used on a global scale as the trade monetary value, it makes things a little difficult when you have things that happened here recently. For an example, the banks shutting down, inflation causing problems, because traditionally the U.S. has been relatively stable throughout the time period, throughout several decades. And so it becomes a little disconcerting when you see articles such as this coming across, this one from the Epoch Times, China's Brazil deal could topple the U.S. dollar in the region and create supply chain bottlenecks, according to some analysts that are out there. Okay. Brazil and China came to an agreement on March 29th that then Brazil's government announced that it would start using local currency and the Chinese yuan, or yuan, however you pronounce it, Y-U-A-N, for financial transactions between the two nations. While it's mostly pragmatic on the surface, some say the move indicates China's push to end the U.S. dollar's dominance, particularly in the Americas. Okay. Now, here's the thing. The dollar has been used by just about everybody to do trade. And again, like I said, it's because it's been the most stable. I mean, China's value has been going up and down. You know, there was a long time back in the day, I can remember the Japanese yen is what everybody wanted because the Japanese yen was so valued against, so valued against so many different things. But the thing about it is, and I guess Buddy is telling me that it's pronounced yawn. Like as in, oh, I'm tired. But anyway, they, again, the government has been focused and really wanting and keeping the U.S. dollar in the international trade. Well, it's not just China. That's the thing. I mean, China's been trying to usurp our dominance in the international trade space using the U.S. dollar for, decades. I mean, they've been after us for a long, long time, trying to make the Chinese yuan the de facto standard throughout the world. They've been after us for a while. But what is disconcerting is not just that China and Brazil have figured this out, but also you have this article that came to us from the Hindu News. China, India, and Malaysia move beyond the dollar to settle trade in INR. And so, yeah, this is really starting to concern a lot of people. And this announcement is seen as a decisive step toward de-dollarization in an effort to safeguard India trade from impact from Russia's war in Ukraine and its subsequent fallout and sanctions. Well, it's not just India and Malaysia either. It's also several other countries that are steering away from the dollar. China, Russia, European Union are some of the major movers that are trying to get away from the United States dollar. I mean, the U.S. dollar has been the world's major reserve currency for decades, but that status is now coming under threat by these major companies or countries. So I got to ask the question, what the hell is going on that we don't know about, that our mainstream media and our administration is not telling us? Because if all of these countries start moving away from the U.S. dollar, this means that we're actually going to start losing opportunities for international trade at certain levels. And so this is really, really a big problem. And as Jarhead 13 over on Rumble points out, if all the other nations who are holding U.S. debt, which, by the way, China holds a large majority of that, decides to call in that debt all at once, our economy would collapse and inflation would skyrocket. You're not kidding. You are not kidding. Okay. So this is concerning. This is seriously concerning for the situation that we are in right now. I'm going to be honest with you. I am not a financial expert, but I am looking at investing in precious metals and not so much the U.S. dollar. Like I explained to somebody, one of my son and his friends, like I explained to them, the thing about it is that the dollar is only valued when people put a value on it. The more dollars there are, the less value each individual dollar actually is. And so this is something that is really, really scary, especially because of the fact that we moved away from the gold standard and our dollar is no longer backed by actual physical gold and silver. This is a huge issue moving forward into the future. I really am concerned about this, and that's why you'll see a lot of people pushing to buy gold. By the way, gold right today was over $2,000 per ounce, and silver was also running right around $24, $25 per ounce. So just, I mean, it kind of went up and down a little bit. Silver's been sort of kind of floating in that range for a little while. But anyway, so moving on here to the next kind of subject here, Biden's been running around on Twitter, which, by the way, Biden, again, I follow the Biden presidential account. I can guarantee you it's not him tweeting. So he's got some sort of an intern that's tweeting all of this. But they've been touting over and over and over again about the fantastic economy that we have, the absolute fantastic economy. And especially in particular, they've been really highlighting the U.S. manufacturing as, manufacturing is coming back to the U.S. It's coming back. It's coming back. Oops, excuse me. And we're doing all of this wonderful stuff here in the U.S. Well, not really, Joe, because this popped. This is in the Epoch Times. U.S. manufacturing slumps to its lowest level in 3 years. Okay. There's an article that came out, a report that came out from the Institute of Supply Management, ISM, that said in an April 3 report that its manufacturing purchasing managers index fell to 46.3% last month compared to 47.7% in February. Readings below 50% represent a contraction. So in other words, our manufacturing is actually shrinking, not growing like what the resident basement dummy is saying in the Oval Office. I'm telling you, this guy, I cannot wait. I cannot wait till 2024 to vote this dementia ridden geriatric out of the freaking White House. Anyway. Okay. So regarding the overall economy in the piece here, Timothy Fiore, chair of the ISM's Manufacturing Business Survey Committee, said this in a statement. Regarding the overall economy, this figure indicates a fourth month of contraction after a 30-month period of expansion. So in other words, Joe Biden's economy is killing U.S. manufacturing. Okay. Demand for manufactured goods has declined. That's, of course, probably due to inflation. The report shows, with the new orders and order backlogs contracting at a faster pace in March than in February. Sales are slowing at an increasing rate, which is allowing us to burn through back orders at a faster than expected pace. An executive in the transportation equipment sector was cited in the survey as saying, okay, folks, our economy is not working well. And by the way, this from CNBC, job openings tumbled below 10 million in February for the first time in nearly 2 years. Now, keep in mind, when Joe Biden took the reins and we were just at the end of toward the tail end of COVID, and he opened up stuff, for the economy. He claims that he brought back 12 million jobs, that he created 12 million new jobs. That is completely false. I've said it on this program. I've shown you the data. 10 million of those jobs came back because of the opening of COVID. He is only running around 2 million, honestly, in the jobs market. Well, now job openings have tumbled again. They've come down. And so this is the first time, according to the piece here, This is the first time that vacancies fell below 10 million since May of 2021. Professional and business services saw a slide of nearly 300,000, 278,000 to be exact, job openings on the month to lead decliners. So this wonderful economy that this person in the White House is touting is 100% wrong. 100% wrong. Okay. So don't believe anything the Biden administration is putting out about this. All right. So I've got a couple more things here. Bear with me. So first of all, so the talk of the town in a lot of places in regards to the budget and our debt ceiling and everything else has always been talking about Medicare and Social Security. And I hate to say this, I really do, but you know, we need to face facts. We need to focus on facing facts about the fact that Medicare and Social Security is in some serious trouble because of the fact that the Congress has allowed for changing of rules and dipping into those funds and all kinds and adding a whole bunch of people to the Social Security and Medicare policy or programs to basically go and, you know, the Medicare Trust Fund and the Social Security are programs they've been adding people to the rolls that have never paid into it and still won't pay into it either. Okay. So when you see things like Medicare and Social Security are programs that we absolutely cannot lose, the fact of the matter is that they're already dying. They need to get fixed. We have to do something. Doing nothing is absolutely ridiculous and ludicrous. And let me show you what I'm talking about. So this piece from the Washington Examiner comes out, and the Medicare Trust Fund is to be exhausted in 2031, trustees project. Okay. So it's not even, I mean, here we are, we're in 2023. Now let me do some real quick math here. 2023 goes to 2030. That's 7 years. 2030 to 2031 is 1 year. 7 plus 1 is 8. So we're talking about less than a decade now where Medicare is going to be essentially in the red. And now keep in mind, this does not mean that Medicare is going to completely end. Okay. It doesn't mean that it's going to just, you know, fall off the earth and it's going to be no more in 8 years. What will happen, though, is the money that's coming in from all of our taxes is getting to a point where we cannot keep up with the amount that's being drawn out at current levels. And so what's going to end up happening is you're going to have essentially a deficit starting in 2031. We have to make changes to the program in order to make sure that either the balance is kept or we cut back on services so that it matches the amount of money that's going to be coming in. And by the way, that's the same scenario where Social Security is at. And apparently this one also is showing that it's going to go a lot earlier. So the first previously thought that it was going to become insolvent in 2034. I talked about it on this program. But, you know, again, it was previously thought that it was going to be insolvent in 2034, but now they're talking about it potentially running dry in just 10 years. And again, by running dry, I mean, essentially that the money coming in is not going to be able to cover the expenditures going out. And so, you know, I understand everybody is scared about this, but if you look back at history, the reason why Social Security was invented, it was actually put in by FDR. It was meant as a three-legged stool. That was how it was sold. It was going to be one leg of a three-legged stool. Your Social Security, your retirement, and then anything that you had saved up, your personal savings, was what was going to make up that stool that was going to help you to stay, be able to stay afloat and pay your bills and everything else when you became older. Now, the other challenge that you have also is the fact that people are retiring at age 65, 67 in some cases. They are actually living to their mid to late 70s, even early 80s on average, depending upon if you're male or female. And so there is a huge dichotomy versus when it was originally put in place versus the way it is now in terms of longevity. You also have, on top of the fact that Congress has raided those funds in multiple cases, you also have, on top of that, you have the immigrants who are coming here that are just being given Social Security funds when they haven't paid anything into it. And they generally don't pay into it. Okay. So you have all of that adding to the stress, as well as the fact that our population, very similar to what China's population is, we are getting a lot older. We don't have enough young people to backfill and replace. And that's the same situation that China is in, albeit they're a little bit farther along in the timeline than what we are. So this is really, really a bit of a problem. And no politician seems to want to come out with the truth and actually touch it. I don't care whether they're Republican or Democrat. The fact of the matter is something has to be done. Something has to change, or otherwise we are on a collision course to essentially lose the same amount of benefits that we're dealing with right now. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm hoping, I'm young enough where I've already pretty much decided I'm going to be working until I'm at least 70, if not 75, provided the fact that I actually survive that long. But that being said, I would say for anyone in their 30s, 40s, 50s, don't focus on Social Security. You don't even get a whole hell of a lot now anyway, but definitely work on a retirement plan that does not depend on things like Social Security, realistically. So this is a big, big issue. This is a huge problem. And honestly, I don't see any way out of it. I really do. I don't see any way out of this. And Coco Dominki is over on Rumble is asking, Whiskey, will this affect disability, SSI, or just the elderly? I think it's the entire program because they don't really break it out in the article. Anything that's attached to either Social Security or Medicaid is going to get affected. These accounts were supposed to be left alone. They were supposed to be earmarked directly for these things. And they've been mismanaged completely. I'm sorry, folks, if you believe that the government can actually manage things, all you have to do is take a look at the VA. Seriously, all you have to do is take a look at the VA. Government cannot do anything right because of the fact that government usually goes into wasteful spending, has to deal with all kinds of fraudulent claims. They just do not do anything right. This is why I continually advocate on this show. We have to get government back within the confines of the Constitution. These programs are not the government's business. I'm sorry to say they really are not, especially the federal government's business. They never should have pushed it out. FDR really, really screwed us, honestly. FDR screwed us. And so this is a bit of a problem, but unfortunately there's going to be some hard choices that are going to have to be made. And we cannot sit here and necessarily, I'm waiting for the politician who actually comes out and literally said what I just said. We have to make hard choices. And unfortunately, it's going to affect people. If you happen to get somebody, a politician who says that, vote for him. And I'll be honest with you. I know it's going to hurt. I know it's going to hurt a lot of people, but the fact of the matter is that we have to do something. with it. I honestly, I don't know what the final result is going to be, but we have to do something with it. Yeah, it's scary. It is scary to think of because a lot of people depend on those programs. But at the same time, and again, we're going to have to make some hard choices as a country. We have to make hard choices, and we have to get out of this business of trying to make the government be the end all be all, God king of our existence. Okay. We just need to figure out something realistically. And that, honestly, is my final Whiskey Musings thought. So do me a favor, run on over to Rumble. If you're watching me on either Twitter or Facebook, do me a favor, head on over to Rumble, sign up for an account. It is free. You can follow me over there. I am looking to hit 10,000 people by the end of 2023. I understand it's ambitious, but that's the way we roll here on the Whiskey Musings broadcast. And also, don't forget that tonight, or Wednesday nights are Pet of the Week, and Saturday is my questions for whiskey. Submit those so that I can, obviously have a segment for those 2 days. That would be great. And we will see you next time on the Whiskey Musings broadcast. Good night, everybody.